Hi guys, it's Richard from Bagnall and Kirkwood again. We've got a video today on servicing of a 1911 Blowback magazine. Basically this style's used on a lot of different manufacturers. It's got to be one magazine looks like this with a cutout down the side. And first of all, what we're going to be looking at is if you've got CO2 coming down out of there, it's going to be this main seal. Quite often if you leave your bulb in there for a period of time, you're going to cause a leak there. If it's leaks coming out the top, what we're going to be looking at is replacing this main valve and the O-ring that goes along with it. We've also going to be replacing the gas rubber routing. This sometimes goes because it is just made out of rubber. So first thing we're going to be doing is we're going to remove the CO2 screw from the bottom. It's just as if you were removing it to put in a CO2 capsule. Then what we're going to do is this neat little CO2 tool. So basically this is a removal tool for the valve and also for the CO2 seal. It just slots in there and then you can use a screwdriver into that place to get it out. You can see there I'm just showing you how it slots across. So you could use a 10mm spanner if you had one, just a 10mm across, and that would do exactly the same job. Main thing to watch out for here is this is an opposite thread. So you've basically got to turn it clockwise to unscrew this CO2 screw. You have to give it a little bit of a knock sometimes to get it out, and it just comes out. It's only available as a complete unit, as a spare part. So generally, if you're leaving your CO2 in for too long, or just with age and time, this can wear down. So you see that one there, it's quite in a state, it does need to be replaced, and that is where this magazine was leaking from. Next thing we're going to do is we're going to remove the main valve. So it's using exactly the same tool that just slots in again on those two little slots, and again screwdriver. No opposite thread on this one, just a standard anti-clockwise rotation to remove it. And then we'll go, just pops out there. So in the bottom here there is an O-ring. Try to tap it out there, but doesn't quite work. Sometimes it will just fall out, sometimes it comes out attached still to the end of the main valve, but in this case we're going to have to use a little pick here just to get it out, and it was quite stuck in back down there. So there you can see it stuck on there, and again not in a very good condition, so it's good to be replacing that. Next thing we're going to do is going to be removing the top of the magazine. So we need a drift out for this pin, and this is just so we can get to that gasket to be able to replace it. So I'm using just a little vise here with some protective jaws, just something to hold it on as we tap it out with a drift. There we go. So once it's tapped out, you're going to have to basically wiggle the top of the magazine. Sometimes they can be quite stiff. But yeah, wiggle it around a bit until it comes off. Sometimes rocking it backwards and forwards from front to back helps as well. Here you go, you see it's just going to come out eventually. There we go. And then after that's off, you can get to that gas routing, as they call it. So that's it. Magazine there is completely stripped. So now basically all we need to do, put it back together. So I'm going to put in the new gas routing, just a case of basically squashing that into place, making sure you've got it the right way around. And then the next thing you're going to do is just put that cap back over the top. Again, just making sure it's properly seated in place. It does sometimes click down, not always, but sometimes it clicks. and then we're going to put that drift back in place. Just make sure it's properly lined up before you do this. Yep, just going to tap it again using that same vice block with the rubber protective strips on. So I use a hammer just to get it down where it needs to be. And then I use a drift just to set it in that last fraction of a millimeter. If you don't quite get it in, it will cause issues. The mag won't go in and out properly on the pistol. There we go. Now we use a little drift there to put it into place, the final millimeter or so. So next, I'm going to put in the main valve. So I'm looking at the old one. Basically, just going to replace it out. First things, need to put in that little O-ring. So drop it in, and then you're going to have to make sure it's properly seated. So I usually use a pick or the end of a screwdriver or something just to make sure it's seated properly in there. And then drop in the new CO2 valve. Use the tool and screw it in. So standard thread on this one. So just clockwise to screw it in. That's it. Then I'm going to replace that main CO2 valve seal. So that one's just popping in there again. Again, I'm going to use the tool. And then remembering that this one is an opposite thread. There we go. So finally, just need to test it out, make sure it's worked. So we're going to pop the CO2 in there. Pop the CO2 screw back on. There we go, and then screw it up. There we go, that's it. So it's worked, no leaks there. Just as I was doing that, I noticed that the two plate screws were a little bit loose on the bottom there. This is really common, but it's just a screwdriver there and just quickly give them a little nip up. And that's it sorted. So that's the end of the video. Thanks for watching. As always, all the spares and everything are on our website. I'll put a link in the description below.